Greetings, Patrick here, revisiting the review. All right. So far, our new series has got off to a pretty decent start. This is a series where I go back and revisit some reviews that I first wrote in my blog, and then I bring them back up and talk about them and tell you what I think. So, for this week, this is number 25. This was the 25th review that I did on my blog, and we will be talking about 2013's Killing Season. Now, this actually is going to double as two. I'm actually going to go ahead and put this. I could also put this as a Dollar Tree one as well. So, but for this, we're just going to go ahead and keep it in revisiting the review. So, this Killing Season is a 2013 film. It was directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who many of us know directed the superior Daredevil 2003. It was a terrific movie, and so Mark Steven Johnson came back, and based off of a script by Evan Doherty, he filmed Killing Season with Robert De Niro and John Travolta. So I got to be honest with you. You know, when I first saw this movie, you think of Travolta and De Niro, and they're going nose to nose, and the first thing you think of is just pure action. It's going to be nonstop, balls to the wall action. Actually, this movie has more in common with a film, a absolutely beautiful but brutal and heartbreaking film called The Hunted. And this movie is more in the vein of that than it is like your typical Bruce Willis movie, or, massive, Michael J. White, like balls to the wall, like I said. This is more of a thinking man's movie. It's beautifully acted. Both men, Travolta and De Niro, are really good. This is one of the, for me anyway, this is one of De Niro's finest performances. Before he sort of I don't know, he just got away from me for after this. So the story is it opens up with in 1991 during the Serbian War, Serbian-Bosnian War. And the Serbs are doing an ethnic cleansing, and then NATO came in and stopped them. It started arresting people for war crimes and what have you. And so an American patrol is it's on watch. It's on patrol. And it runs across a train full of dead people, prisoners, and then they keep going. They see a small concentration camp. And so they engaged the Serbs in a war, in a shootout, and they take care of most of them, but some of the soldiers, some of the Serbians, they give up. But the American patrol, they've seen the carnage that has already been done, and so they take their prisoners, of which one is a soldier called Kovacs, and they march them to a hill, and then they kill them all. And it looks like Kovacs is gonna, he's the last man standing, and he knows he's about to die. And sure enough, we see him get shot, and the picture fades. Except for one small thing, he doesn't die. He lives. He's the only one of the prisoners that lives. So he wants revenge, obviously. So he spends years trying to gather who the soldiers were who did this to him, who led the soldiers, who gave the command. And he spends years and a lot of money finding out that it was actually Colonel Benjamin Ford, that led the men. So Kovacs arranges to meet Ford, and initially it was going to be just a talk. Maybe like a peace offering or what have you, but then it doesn't turn out that way, and Ford finds himself being hunted by Kovacs, uh, and and so he has to bring back some of his old skills back just to stay alive before Kovacs kills him. And so both men are, they're both setting traps. They're both shooting at each other. They're both doing their damnedest to kill each other. And in fact, this is the only part of the film that I still have a problem with. Um, the 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 wounds that both men inflict on each other would have been enough to end it right then and there. Both of them survived horrific wounds, and it would have been like, okay, if that was the end of the movie where both men were bleeding out and looking at each other, going like, "Well, this was stupid." All right, but no, it seems like more, and it's just it's a little bit of a shame because the violence is sort of cartoony, like you drop an anvil on Wile E. Coyote's head and he gets up and he goes back to do another deed. No, he's he's done. Um, but overall, both men take this opportunity while they're hunting each other to talk to each other. They and they start having grudging respect because both men are fighting for principle. They're both and survival, and they start talking, and they and it sort of reminded me of like a reverse Hell in the Pacific, where the two men are bitter enemies at first, then they meet, then they talk, then they get along, and over here, it's and then they blow up. But over here, it's they meet, they talk, they get together, they get along at first, and then they become bitter enemies. For the most part of the movie, it's reversed. It's like, okay, we could talk about what happened, but when one really doesn't want to talk, when one really wants to go to war again, well, that's why they call it killing season. I thought this movie was terrific for the acting. I liked it. I liked the directing. I sort of wish that Mark Stevens Johnson had just probably toned down the wounds a little bit. You can still make your point. Yes, we know they're messing each other up, but tune it down a little bit because it sort of becomes unrealistic a little bit, and it sort of distracts from the movie. Like you're sitting there wondering, like, how the hell is he surviving that? Where you should be looking at like, wow, they both have something to say here. It distracts from the story. The violence doesn't distract from the movie. I will say that it might take you out of it for a little bit, but it's credit to De Niro and Travolta that they keep this movie on track, and it's really well done. And the ending is exactly what it should have been, and I totally down with that. I won't spoil it, of course, but the ending makes perfect sense. Um, I I like this movie. I gave this movie a thumbs up back then, and I'm giving it a thumbs up here too. I really like this movie quite a bit, um, and you can still get this. You can still get this. You can still get this at secondary markets, eBay, Amazon. Maybe even see some Dollar Trees still might have it. I'm saying Dollar Trees because I'm still hearing people talk about them finding old movies, older movies at the tree. So I know my store still has movies, not very many, but they still carry them. So you still might be able to find this over at the tree, but probably better yet, probably over at Big Lots, as far as if you want a new copy. All right, so that was review number 25 on the blog, and I'm going to include my original review as well. It's very similar to this one because I saw the movie and I pretty much felt the same way I did then. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. This is rated R, of course. Special features include a small featurette, which is nothing to write home about. It would have been nice to have a commentary on it, but I think the budget probably prohibited that. This movie doesn't get talked about enough, which is a real shame because it has a lot to say, and it's worth listening to. And again, Mark Stevens Johnson did a great job. He's a terrific director. Yeah. All right. So that is Revisiting the Review. Hope you enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking our channel. Hit the like button, please, and drop a comment. The comments and the likes really help the channel out tremendously. The more you do it, the more we get engage with each other, the better it is for me, and the channel gets into the algorithm, and I would appreciate it. All right, we will see you next Friday for the next installment of Revisiting the Review.